Hello and welcome to this transit talk. I have been a professional and just sat and talked to myself for 10 minutes about gate 10. And so, at least partway through there, I said I should have done all this preparation before I showed up. And now I've got to because my live streaming uh, capacity, competency, that's the word I'm looking for, is definitely a work in progress. So, I'm just double checking that on YouTube I can now see myself live, and I can, which is wonderful. So, what we're here to do today is talk about the transits, and the current transits are the sun is in gate 15 and the earth is in gate 10. Often when I see people talk about the transits, they only talk about the sun, and I'm not entirely sure why. So the sun definitely is brighter and more vibrant, and it has like a significant influence. But the earth and its companion gate that comes through in the earth really brings a balance and a groundedness. And I think it's important to look at both. If anyone knows why we don't normally look at the earth, by all means, let me know. But to me, it makes sense to look at all of them, and I will actually pull up the full transits and go through all of them. But first, let's start with gate 10. So the reason we start with gate 10 is it's in the earth, and also it's a gate that someone asked about in the community. So I'll look at what's the current transits, and there'll be an opportunity in my human design aligned living community on School. Should be a link below if you wish to join us there, to ask questions. Like, pick a gate and I'll come and I'll talk about the gate. My references as I'm going through this are the human design, the science of differentiation. Differentiation, it's a cool word. The Visionary I Ching cards by Paul O'Brien, and just the little booklet that goes with that. I really like the interpretation there. There's a whole bunch of resources out there. And then the other one that I pull up occasionally is Human Design Circuitry, which goes through circuits, channels, and gates by Richard Rudd, who is the creator of Gene Keys, I believe. He definitely created an offshoot of human design. So gate 10, when I was chatting to myself a minute ago, is where I suspect the profile lines come from. So I was just looking up in the book of differentiation, it's got the different lines. And so what the lines are come from the I Ching, and each line has a story. But as I looked up these are pretty much what drives the profile names in human design. So gate 10 is the behavior of the self, which makes sense as to why it would connect with the profile lines. And it comes off our identity center. So it goes into the integration circuits. Apologies if I repeat myself, because I'm now repeating myself and I'm not sure how often I've repeated myself. The integration circuit is that little collection of 10, 34, 57, and 20. The channel 1034 is an individual channel. The channel 2057 is also an individual, but the other channels that come in there are the integration channels. What the integration channels are the space in which we impact the collective evolution. And so work we do in those integration channels, and there's a bunch of people that I've been coming across recently that have the integration channels. They're definitely here on this. We're here to elevate and evolve the collective thinking. So those ripples will go out to the collective. So 1034 is what I have in my chart, and it is that of an individual. 1057 is an integration, and 1020 is an integration. So if at the moment you have gate 34, 57, or 20 and they're hanging for you, then gate 10 is active, and that will activate the centers that they're attached to. So that's the throat, the identity, or the identity is the 10, and then the sacral, and then the splenic. This would be easier with a picture, but have a look at your body graph. You'll be able to see it. There's a body graph just here in front of me. So we've got, I don't know if this will show up. Yeah, so gate 10 is this one just here. going into that integration circuit. So you've got the identity, the sacral, the splenic, and the throat, all connected in that little integration circuit. So that brings, so if the 57 is active, it'll bring out more intuition. If the 20 is active, it'll bring out more expression in the moment. And if the 34 is active, it brings out more vitality, more doing what you love is what that channel brings out. So gate 10, the behavior of the self, the underlying code of behavior, which ensures successful interaction despite the circumstances. The underlying code of behavior. It's the showing up and doing what's needed. It's being able to adapt and shift behavior in a consistent fashion, which again is a contradiction, for humanity on that grand level. So the 1057, the 1020 is all about what are we doing for the higher good, the evolution of humanity. And then the 1034 is what are we doing for the good of ourselves, and those ripples play out as well. So what I was speaking about with the lines, we'll start at the top. Line 6 is that of the role model, the perfect expression of the norms through action rather than words. So all of this is about behavior. Line 5, the heretic, direct and overt challenges to the norms. The ability to succeed through understanding and expression of higher principles, burning at the stake. There's like both sides of that. The role model was the constant example that refocuses the complacent on the basic integrity of set behavior. And then it's the hypocrite, the do as I say and not as I do. Behavior restricted to words rather than actions. So we want to just play in, all of us are going to have the light and shadow of this, all of us are going to have the different lines. What's going to be there for some of us is that some of it's going to be consistent and some of it's going to be inconsistent. Line 4 is called the opportunist, the acceptance of norms until a successful transformation can be obtained. I'm going to go with obtained. Transformation that is transcendent to a higher code, or opportunism is a game and or mental exercise. Oh, that one lands. Altering one's behavioral patterns in order to take advantage of opportunities, or the maintaining of behavioral patterns until the right moment and opportunity for transformation. So it's are we being consistent or are we adapting? And I really want to acknowledge there's not necessarily a right and a wrong with this. There's an aligned and a misaligned, but even that is, sometimes we need to misalign. If we're breaking free of old patterns, if we're treading new waters, if we're expanding perspectives, we want the misalignment with the old so we can step into the new. So I just, all of these have a purpose. All of these have a place. Line 3 is the martyr, the futile rejection of standards based on just awareness. Behavior that is ultimately challenged by others, or behavior as a way to attract attention. The martyr complex, the active pursuit of martyrdom for personal aggrandizement, or the martyr as an enduring example whose behavior is ultimately enshrined. Then we have the hermit, the successful, just allow me to feel that one for a moment. Wow. Okay. The successful sidestepping of behavioral requirements through isolation. That one goes straight through to my core. I'm curious, where'd my chart go? Here it is. I'm curious what line gate 10 is for me consistently. I have line 2 is my hermit, is my default profile. So gate 10 for me is in Venus. So relationships and values. So my behavior is shaped by relationships and values. That's not news to me or anybody else that knows me well. And it's a line 1, which we haven't got to yet. And so the hermit, and I think this speaks to the profiles and the way I look at profiles just as a sidestepping. And this will happen often in these conversations. If you don't like the tangents, if you don't like the side quests, you're probably in the wrong place. My shirt, I'm not procrastinating, I'm doing side quests. I'm not procrastinating, I'm doing side quests. I'm not distracted, I'm doing side quests. And you can join me or not, it's up to you. The successful sidestepping of behavioral requirements through isolation. It is the isolation to preserve independent behavior in the face of conditioning. And that to me just speaks so deeply. And I think that's probably about where we're at with the Earth Gate at the moment, which is possibly why that's resonating so deeply. Mercury exalted, where mental functions enrich aloneness, independent behavior through isolation. And so I often find, for me to know my values, to know my idea, like I need to sidestep and walk away from everybody else and have that space on my own, because I'm so prone to conditioning, as are we all in some ways. But that one's just, that's just gone straight to my core as something that is worth exploring. And I think part of it, as I said, it's probably being amplified right now by the Earth being in that sort of space. And then line 1 is labeled as modesty, an innate sense to know and accept one's place. A valued sense of purpose no matter what the position, the ability to know one's place and how to act despite circumstances. Oh, and then oversensitivity to external conditioning of behavior, which is what I just said. And I hadn't read that far ahead. You really can't make this shit up. Like, I really want to remain skeptical about human design. It should not work. It shouldn't work as well as it does. My logical brain, my critical thinking questions the hell out of this. And yet every time I look at it, I get insights about myself and others and how to engage in the world differently. And so that line 1, which is what it is in mine, the affliction of oversensitivity and hurt feelings, and the oversensitivity to external conditioning of behavior. So if you're looking at this for yourself, you want to look at which line you have in your chart, and then you want to look at the planetary nature of it as well. I'm just going to pull up the person that had asked the question and see where it's at. One Gate, help me help you. All right, so gate 10 is in Uranus. I don't know how other people say it. Uranus. Uranus? I don't know. Except that it's not, it's in Neptune. So we went through that for nothing. Neptune is the trident. I just, the symbol caught me off guard for a second. So it's in Neptune, and Neptune is mystery and imagination. So mystery and imagination found through the behavior of self. Interesting. So what I pull from that, and this is specifically for the person that asked the question, at some point I'll ask permission whether I share names or not, but for the moment I'm going to trust that if you asked about gate 10 and you're watching this, you know that it's you. The mystery and imagination in the identity and in the behavior. And so potentially your behavior is a mystery to yourself, or your behavior is a mystery to others. And then the lines that are there are lines 2 and 5. So the successful sidestepping of behavioral requirements through isolation, and isolation to preserve independent behavior in the face of conditioning. And so knowing you a little bit, I know there is that tendency to want to retreat, to want to have your personal space. And potentially that is because it's so hard when you go out into the real world. In the real world's the wrong words. The bigger world, the one you go in and interact with people, that conditioning is pushing on you. I definitely resonate with that, where there's the successful of sidestepping of behavioral requirements through isolation. It's too hard to deal with the conditioning. I'm not sure where my boundaries are. I find it really hard to enforce them. I'm just going to go and hide in my cave and not interact with people. And I get that. And if that's working for you, rock forth with that. If that's not working for you, then you can start to, because the other line you have is line 5, start to challenge the norms, start to push back on that conditioning a little bit. Direct and overt challenging to the norms, the ability to succeed through the understanding and expression of higher principles, which directly changes the tradition. But that's also giving you the opportunity to directly change the conditioning, directly change how you approach people and the way it works. Now, being aware that the flip side of that is behavior which directly challenges other people's behavior and is punished. It's literally the burning at the stake. So there's definitely a line to be found between I'm going to challenge the conditioning, I'm going to challenge the norms, and I'm not going to do it to the point that I'm burnt at the stake. So finding that balance, I'm going to say, as someone else with that 10, I mean, mine's the 1034, so mine has somewhere to flow, and it flows into my vitality. Learning where that line is of not being influenced and conditioned while pushing back as a heretic and not being burned at the stake is definitely an adventure and an exploration. I suspect it will be an experiment that I'm playing with for the rest of my life. So I hope that gives you some insights into the 10. I am just going to pull up the I Ching as well. And so that energy, we're moving through that energy this week. Everybody is moving through that energy this week through the transit from the earth. And so it's where our grounding will come from. It's where stability will be found this week, and knowing that we're moving through this journey of self-behavior. So in the I Ching, it's called treading carefully, gate 10, or hexagram 10. It is sky above, lake below. So it is the greatest heavens. And then while lake sounds like it's on the earth, lake is actually the next layer down. Let me just look. It is, yeah, so it's heaven over lake. So there are a lot of yang lines in this. There are, and the yang lines are active. So it is in active behavior that we notice. The third line, which is experimentation, it is momentum, it is movement, it is how we're learning through exploration, is open to receptivity. So there is the exploration, but it's a passive exploration, whereas the other lines are all active. Competent people find their way and make progress, even in difficult circumstances. So that's lining up with the underlying code, ensuring successful interaction despite circumstances. Consider your steps carefully when powerful forces surround you. The weak and strong can coexist when the weaker element does not impose upon the stronger one. So finding our place, navigating where our behavior sits in the hierarchy of wherever we're playing. When treading among sleeping tigers or slippery stones, tread carefully. So that's the treading carefully. Step gingerly and don't stumble. At this time, a relatively humble force. So line 1 was modesty, which is humility. There's an overlap in those words. Must be particularly careful. At this time, a relatively humble force or person is having the influence over a stronger one, and for this reason must be particularly careful. So where we're stepping into offering advice, offering insight, shifting our behavior to bring in change, there is an element of calibration required. Like there's a gentle push, not a hard push that comes in. Come from the humble position. Beyond the this is line 2. Beyond the trauma of failure lies in the stillness of wisdom. Withdrawing from the bustle of events and eliminating unnecessary desires brings clarity of purpose. It's interesting to me. Somebody just posted yesterday that or in the last 12 hours, that they're shifting away from something that was definitely coming from a space of obligation and pressure. And so that may be what we see in the world this week, is that shift of I've been doing this thing through conditioning. I'm going to step back. I'm going to retreat. I'm going to give myself space. And that's okay. And then as we continue through the week, we'll start to see the other lines come through. So let me just double check which line we are in today, because I think we're moving into 2 or 3. Just pull that up on the calendar. So we're into line 3. So line 2 yesterday, the successful sidestepping requires isolation. And then the futile rejection of standards based on just awareness. Oh my God, I could do a whole rant post on that. I may do a whole rant post on that. We're 20 minutes in. I've done one gate. The common personal just like, 90% of the journey is awareness. And I really call bullshit. And this line is speaking to that. The futile rejection of standards just based on awareness. There's got to actually be an action. You've got to move forward. Yeah, awareness is great. It is definitely the first step for so many of us, is having awareness of our patterns, having awareness of like the things that we're repeating, having awareness of the things that are not serving us, and then allowing ourselves to step into, well, now we've got to do something about it. There's got to be action. And the 90% is awareness. Yeah, maybe not. And that last 10%, if it is only 10%, and I'm not entirely convinced, is it's like driving home. That last 10% of driving home can take forever. You hit traffic. The other thing that I'm noticing as I just pulled up the transit chart, which I should have done at the beginning, is that gate 20 is active in Uranus at the moment, and it'll be active all week as well. So that 2010 is active. So everything we're doing that's evolving and up-leveling this week is going into the collective consciousness. And so there is that space of speaking into the now, what we want to bring into the collective consciousness. It's got to be true. We can't just speak things, and speaking things that we don't hold to be true, particularly that 2010, that connection into our identity, will actually not. Like, it'll create other ripples and other obstacles for ourselves. So speaking carefully, speaking truthfully, speaking into what's present for you in the moment is going to be what could be really helpful to you. But knowing that we've got that power to, where we are convicted, where it aligns with our values, where it aligns with our identity, where it aligns with where we're taking action and responsibility, we can speak into the collective consciousness upgrading and elevating. Goodness, even in my brain those letters got twisted and I couldn't find it. That's fine. So that's gate 10, and it is connected to gate 20 at the moment as well, and that will stay consistent. Uranus is a reasonably slow moving planet. So the other gate that we're going to look at is gate 15. And then we're going to look at the 5611 channels. Let me just pull up gate 15. While I'm just finding this, there is definitely a follow what's true for you and follow your identity is what comes through with follow your identity, follow what's true, and ensure that your behaviors are aligned with your identity. All right, gate 15, modesty/extremes, the quality of behavior which expresses the proper balance between extremes. So we're still in behavior. Gate 15 is also off the identity center. It connects to gate 5, also connecting to the sacral. So there's 2 opportunities if you've got 5 or 34 for that sacral to be lit up if it's not normally lit up for you. And gate 46. So where's 46? 46 is the moon. That won't be here long. We won't go into that too much further. All right, so the proper balance between extremes. So we're going to start at line 6 and work our way down. I don't know why it's written that way on the page, partly why we're doing it that way, but that's just where we're at. Line 6 is that of self-defense. Modesty that is never confused with weakness. A tendency to use harmony as a weapon in problem situations rather than focusing on the root causes, or the constant re-examination to weed out the weakest aspect. So it's looking at the extremes and looking to move them closer to the higher point rather than the weaker point, the stronger point. Line 5 is sensitivity, the ability to sense when otherwise balanced behavior must be adjusted to meet the requirements of the changing environment. So again, that's that heretic. It's challenging the norms. Where are we doing things slightly differently? The capacity of the self to grow through experiencing the extremes, and the drive of the self to overcompensate and disturb the flow. So the flow will come in that middle ground, and then the extremes allow us to know whether we're in flow. So if it's too heightened, if it's too low, then we're not in the flow. The flow is allowing that balance to come to power. Line 4 is the wallflower. Modesty is a shield against exposure of inadequacy. And then the self, when the uncomfortableness of the self when it's out of the flow, and then extremism that keeps the self out of the flow, which is what I was just speaking to. We want to bring that flow and that balance, that harmony, a sense of modesty. I'm really drawn to harmony and the balance are the two words jumping out. Line 3, which is where we are for this as well. So the sun and the earth move in together. They move together on the opposite sides of the mandala, but they move in harmony, in balance with each other. And if one is in line 3, the other is in line 3. You'll notice that on your birth charts, like they're always the same lines. Line 3, which is where we are currently, the risk that modesty, once recognized, will self-destruct. The extremism of the self as a strategy to control the flow, and the capacity of the self to point out the extremes of others. Oh, the I told you so mentality. So line 3 is the ego, and that ego can be applied to the extremism of self to navigate the flow, or it can be like projected onto others and a judgment of the self to point out the extremes of others. So while we're in line 3, and this will only be for the rest of today, but while we're here, really noticing, are you focused on yourself and your own strategy and authority on your own flow, or are you more focused on others? And again, I'm not inviting that one is right and one is wrong. I'm inviting awareness. And then if you feel that awareness brings you to a need for action, taking aligned action for yourself. Line 2 is that of influence. So this will have been yesterday. The modesty and right action result in enduring standards. The capacity of the self to accept its extremes in nature as correct, and the capacity to use the extreme nature of the self to influence others. So allowing ourselves to explore both sides of this. Just have a think about yesterday, and if you did tap into areas where you were more extreme than you may have otherwise been. I found myself yesterday, there was an energy that I stepped into at one point, and it was an extremely heightened energy based in fear that I stayed in for maybe 2 minutes, and then I was able to drop myself, and then I flipped to the other extreme and went much softer, but it continued to be active. I don't really want to share the experience beyond that, but allowing ourselves to notice, where are we finding ourselves in the extremes? Is that working for us? And can we flip to the other extreme? One of the things that often came up in coaching when I was doing one-on-one work a lot was, I've tried everything, and the limitations that we place on ourselves with extremes. And so this is a great time to explore, where have we placed a limitation? So can we do the whisper, and can we do the screaming? And often we'll have found one of those and we'll have put limitations on. It's like, I've tried everything. Have you tried sitting down next to the child tantruming with them? And the majority of parents that I've asked that is like, no. and there's a judgment around I could never. And when we've got an extreme that we put in the I could never, then we're stuck and we're trapped. Now, I'm not suggesting that what we find in the extremes necessarily needs the action taken, but to acknowledge that it is an option is how we actually maintain the balance. The river flowing can do it as a trickle, like there's a drop that breaks through the rocks really gently, or it can do it as a huge surge, like a massive flood coming through. Now, both are potentials, the very slow, gentle shift or that massive surge in energy. When we can accept that both options are available to us without necessarily needing to act on it, that's where we give ourselves back full autonomy and a full sense of power. It's like, I could do anything and I choose to do this one. And so allowing that to come through, that's what's coming through with this. And then line 1 is duty, the ability to confront any challenges without expectations. Oh. And then the contrast there, the capacity of the self to confront any challenge through extreme and harmonic relationships, and the capacity of the self to alienate others through extremes. I could talk about that for another 10 minutes. I'm not going to right now, though. So I trust that gives you a sense of what's going on in the sun and the earth this week. I'm going to just dive into the 5611 channel, which was the other question that was asked. Are these in order? They do not appear to be in order. All right, let's work out what there was a content somewhere. They are in an order. It's just not an order that makes sense to me. We don't want the definitions. There we go. So we need to probably bookmark that page. That's okay. All right, so we want 5611 230. And this is a question that came from a member in the community. 56, just by circumstance, happens to be highlighted by Jupiter. And Jupiter is expression and wisdom. So gate 56 for me is a hanging gate, connects to gate 11. No wonder I've got more wisdom coming through. What page am I looking for, Amy? Try again. 5611, page 230. And I will pull up just 56 and I'll read through those lines as well. So 5611. 230, the channel of curiosity. A design of the searcher. The channel of curiosity links the Anya to the throat. And so the gate of ideas and the gate of stimulation. Seekers never stop searching, no matter how much they find. Their curiosity compels them to continually seek stimulation to explore new ideas and ways of seeing things. This curiosity is not about setting out to find something specific, but rather, look at what I have discovered. This is what I believe it to be about. The kid's story, we're going on a bear hunt. No, not we're going on a bear hunt. The bear hunt, they're looking for the bear. The other one, to see the other side of the mountain, to see what she could see. She's climbing up. How does that poem go? The other side of the mountain, to see what she could see. And basically it is. It's like I'm climbing the mountain to see what I can see. And there's no specific destination. It is just the journey. And I know the person I'm speaking to about this is going to love those words. Not. Though I think you are coming around to it a little bit more. But it is that curiosity without destination. I'm not looking for answers. I'm looking for experiences. I'm not looking for solutions. I'm looking for experiences and allowing those experiences. I don't know if I have your chart still. Actually, it may be in that chat thread. I just want to see where they sit for you. So gate 11 is one of your predominant gates in the sun. So that searching for ideas, the constant generation of ideas, is definitely going to be something that you get quite connected with. It is how you express, is through having ideas. And then gate 56, can I zoom in on that? I can't. 56 is just there. So that is Mars in your unconscious. Yes. Which is the growth and maturity. Growth and maturity is found through. So your growth and maturity is found through stimulation. Oh my God, that to me just makes so much sense with what I know of you. I hope that makes sense to you as well. Let me see if I can flesh that out. So the growth and maturity is discovered through growth and maturity is discovered through stimulation. So it's going to be active. So mine, for example, growth and maturity for me is found through wanting, which is a very different energy. And my other one is through personal power. And so there's a different energy between mine and yours. And I mean, we've been seeing that for years as we've hung out. But that growth and maturity through stimulation, of course, that's what you seek out. When you want to grow, when you want to expand, when you want to explore, you're going to seek out stimulation. And that's going to be active. It's going to have momentum. And that makes complete sense. So the 1156, the channel of curiosity, it is ideas and stimulation. Those are both defined for you. So the way in which you seek the stimulation and the way in which you process ideas are both defined. The one thing with the gate 11 is not every idea needs action. And so embracing active visualization, embracing ways in which to explore the ideas without needing to take action. And some of the ideas, I mean, the other day you and I were Googling something, I can't remember what it was, but we were exploring an idea and it didn't require either of us to get out of our seat. We could explore the idea. So exploring ideas that don't necessarily lead to having to do something, but at the same time, you're going to want that stimulation. You're going to be looking for the stimulation and finding some ideas to put into action and to stimulate you and have that growth. So the ideas is is a second line. So it is going to be that a withdrawal energy, allowing yourself to have the ideas and then go back to yourself and double check in whether or not it's something that you need to take action. And then gate 56 is line 1. So line 1 is quality, and for the 11, line 2 is rigor. I'm just going to look both of those up in the back of this book, and then I think I will call it a day. Gate 11, and I know, so gate 11, you've got line 2, the rigor. The recognition that without vigilance and risk, peace can lead to stagnation and collapse. A sense of boredom that can be overcome through the imagination, and provoking with ideas to escape boredom is the contrasts there. I'm curious, I have gate 11 as well. It is, for me, it's a line 4. The teacher, the ability to express the essential nature of peace. Concepts which are clear and transferable, ideas which can attract and inform the uneducated. And then, oh my goodness, ideas which can only be grasped by the few. Far out. It shouldn't be as effective as it is. And for me, that's in my moon. My inner drive is found through ideas and introspection and concepts which are clear and transferable, and then there's ideas which can only be grasped by the few. Oh dear. We're working on working both sides of that. Now we're back to the extremes. I've got the ideas which can only be grasped by the few, and then the ideas which can attract and inform the uneducated. and I would say the uneducated there, that word just doesn't quite land, but it's the ideas which can attract and inform the curious, the people that want to learn more. I mean, uneducated is accurate. It just sounds a little bit weird in my brain. Concepts which are clear and transferable. And that's my driver, is to turn the ideas which can only be grasped by the few into ideas which can attract and inform those wanting to learn more. And yeah. Line 3 is the realization that ideas come and go. And I think tapping into that occasionally, recognizing that that's definitely something, and a pleasure in ideas that have no real application. Then line 2, that sense of boredom overcome through imagination. And for that channel of 1156, when the stimulation is consistent. So for me, I have 11. I don't have the 56. So I have the ideas. I don't have that same need for stimulation. And so when the stimulation is there, the boredom will be stronger for you to overcome. So that sense of boredom overcome through the imagination and provoking with ideas to escape boredom. Recognizing where that stimulation hasn't been met. We'll just look up that for you as well. But recognizing that, recognizing the imagination can be used for that. So it doesn't necessarily need to be active constantly, though if that's working for you, rock forth with it. Like, there's definitely an element of tap into what works well for you. All right, last one, we're going to do gate 56, which is line 1. So gate 56, the wanderer stimulation, stability through movement, the perpetuation of continuity through the linking of short-term activities, which, based on the conversation we were having yesterday, I think resonates on some level for you, and it's what we were noticing. The line 1 is the quality. 56 was definitely line 1. The practical sense that even short-term activities should be of value, expression of practical ideas that have value, and then the drive to stimulate that will express any idea, no matter how trivial. And so they're the contrasts that are playing. Expression of the practical ideas that have value, but recognizing that there may be just a drive to stimulate that will express any idea, no matter how trivial. So I would play into, where are you noticing the boredom? Where are you noticing that you're using ideas to counteract that boredom, and allowing yourself to tap into what do you want stimulation to look like for you, and building up that ideal average day, as we were talking about recently. I'm going to leave this here because I've been talking for much longer than I intended to. I think we'll navigate that a little bit each week. If you are enjoying Transit Talk, if you want to learn more about yourself, learn more about your human design, engage in the conversations, please come and join us in the Human Design Aligned Living group on School. And I hope to connect with you soon.